Bom dia para você que é de bom dia, boa noite para você que é da boa noite, boa tarde se você acabou de receber uma notificação do YouTube e agora você já veio ansioso e eu tô nervoso pra caramba porque hoje a gente vai entrevistar uma fera do tarô internacional, tipo o cara. E agora a gente tá de madrugada aqui no Brasil, 8 horas da madrugada, porque a gente está falando com ele lá na Itália. E para você entender, a gente vai conversar em inglês, você vai precisar ligar aqui subtitles e depois colocar translate to português. E aí você vai conseguir entender o que a gente está falando. And now I will speak in English. Thank you so much to be with you. How are you, Giordano Berti?
I'm really fine, thank you. I'm working a lot on a lot of projects, but I'm very happy to dedicate some time to you and Portuguese people about a topic very interesting for Portuguese people in Brazil in particular.
People here love your work, just love it. When I announced that you agreed to consider this interview, people were so happy. And they gave me a lot of questions to ask you because they really enjoy your work. And it has been a great contribution, not only for tarot, but for us. You're like a rock star here.
When I come in Brazil in 10 years ago, no, 8 years ago, some people told me you are the Vasco Rossi of tarot. And this is very funny. I'm not so vanitous, but tarot is a part of my life, and I like to share my knowledge with other people. No other.
All right. Well, the first question that we ask all our guests are the story of her life. Then when did you begin? When was the first time that you saw a tarot card? And why did you choose this path? And so how did it start?
Well, if you ask me about my journey, when start my journey into the tarot, I can say that it began when I was a child, even if I was unconscious of my destiny. When I was a child, my parents went to the theater or to dance, and they entrusted me and my brothers to an old lady that care of us. We were 3 pestiferous children. We could destroy the house when we was alone. And but about this old lady, in the village was Monghidoro, on the top of the mountain between Bologna and Florence. Was said that that lady was a kind of witch. In fact, a lot of people went to her to have some disease treated, especially on the skin. Her nickname was La Gattina, the little cat. If someone, for example, had herpes on the face, on the skin, go to the Gattina, and she cured, with the words and special saying, and special symbols and secret words. For me, it was strange was a strange woman. And but when even my brother, that have 3 years more than me, when he was 20 year old, go to the Gattina to have a treatment for Greek earthers, the St. Anthony fire. I don't know if in Brazil it has the same name when you have the problems to the skin very hard.
Yes, well, it's the same name.
The same name. Okay, St. Anthony fire. Oh, well, but for sure, the Gattina had a dark side inside her. Although she was a healer, many people were afraid of her because she also had a habit of hurling courses, even in public, on the streets. But only to those people that did not respect to her. However, with us, with me and my friends, she was always been good, even if they was very strict, because we was pestiferous, as I thought. And a particular episode that I remember was she stayed in our house in winter. She told us terrible and bloody tales. Actually, in the popular mountain tradition where I lived, my childhood is full of macabre tales. And I have transcribed some of them. Sometimes the Gattina seems like to didn't take care of us. She stood on front of the wood burning stove. At the time, there was not the radiators, and she opened the stove from below when the ashes falls, and fumbled with a wand, burned sheets or small pieces of cloth, and spoke in incomprehensible words. And there are the earliest memories I have of magic. I was 7 years old, and or maybe eight at the time.
And then you decided that tarot was going to be your life? No.
I was still small, a little boy, when I first saw the tarot, because you know, a part of my family come from Bologna, that is one of the capital of the tarot. My mother's family comes from Bologna. So when I were at home with my maternal grandparents, my grandfather took us with him to the ancient center of Bologna, and in particular, he frequented a tavern, the Tavern of the Sun, l'Osteria del Sole, and he went where to play cards with his friends, and they used the traditional Italian cards, the Piacentine and the Tarocchino of Bologna, the Bolognese Tarocchino. And I like to watch people play cards, and especially tarot, because of the figures. They were very fascinating, and even the speech of the card players. the tavern was frequented by even by an old lady that stayed every time in a corner, and she used the tarot to play passing games, solitaires. Occasionally, someone would come to her, and usually was a woman or a young girl, and she said something to her and invited the person to sit down in front of her. And then the old woman mixed the tarot cards and invited the persons to choose some of them. And then she marked with the fingers one by one, and started to talking. In short, she was a fortune teller, and I tried to understand what they were speaking, were saying, but in the confusion of the tavern was impossible to understand. But it was a strange game that I liked a lot. I liked because was very different from the card players that stay in grid tables and speaking one against other. You made an error, you hate to use this card or this card, because tarot game is very, very difficult and is necessity good memory. It's a game of strategy. And even about tarot, a few years later, I think about 12 years, yes, probably. Together with my younger brother, Vic, I worked among the shops of Bologna, and we saw a fascinating book on a stall. And the title was The Mirror of Magic. And after browsing through the pages, we decided to buy it, and we put together the little money that we had and bought this book. And in the evening in the bed, we stay to see the pages speaking about demonology and angelology and witchcraft, alchemy, and of course divinatory. But it was not we understand that was not a practical book, it was an history book. The author was Kurt Seligman. And this is the first book about magic that I read. And in the chapter of tarot, there was many figures, very different from the Bolognese tarot. The figure was from Tarot of Marcel. One card liked me a lot was the card of the angel. And then when I was in college, I designed this angel, and he remained with me for a lot of years. And but when I come back in Monghidoro, one day, a girl give me one deck of tarot. This was the first tarot deck of my life, and I take it here is with that is a particular. The box is from Mayhem, but it's a particular version of the Tarot of Papoose. Probably you have never seen it. See?
Oh, yes.
Yes. There is a piece on my heart in this deck. And I was 50 years old. And at the age of 19, a friend of mine gave me another deck, this time a Tarot of Marcel by Nicolas Convert. And with the deck, I began my first deck studies on the symbolism of the Tarot and on the methods of reading and interpretation. And so started my journey on the Tarot.
And you mix it up, tarot and magic since childhood. And for someone in the audience that does not know tarot, how would you say that? What is tarot?
Tarot is a great game of life. It's a game that involves every aspect of the visible and invisible life, from my point of view. I started to study in a different way the Tarot when I began the faculty of letters and philosophy in the University of Bologna, because I chose the aesthetic part of philosophy, and later I decided to specialize in the relationships between visual arts and esotericism. And from the time I developed numerous lines of research in depth analysis that obviously include even the Tarot from all points of view: artistic, philosophical, esoteric, and so on. And thanks to my knowledge, at the age of 28, I collaborated to the organization of the largest exhibition of Tarot that ever been held. Was in a very important city, very magical city, the city of Ferrara, in the castle of Ferrara. Wonderful, really wonderful. But all the city is really magic, with great astrological frescoes. It's incredible. However, in the 1988, I started to collaborate with Lo Scarabeo of Turin, and for Lo Scarabeo, I invented a lot of decks. I wrote a lot of books, and thanks to these great works, now I am known worldwide, I suppose. And then in 10 years ago, I started the project Renascimento, Italian style art, and I started to reprint all the old decks and write lead the books for every deck, for every specific deck, because there is a lot of story to know about Tarot that people don't know now. So this is my journey, continue every day, every night.
Because we have interviewed lots of tarot people, but most scholars, they do not believe in magic. But you had this childhood with a lot of magic. So the next question I would ask you is, what is magic to you? And how does tarot work?
Magic is a word without significance. If you don't understand specifically the topic with you use the term, because magic can be prestidigitations, illusions, but exists even ritual magic. And I think the true magic is ritual magic. And ritual magic is not necessarily related to some religions. Can be a sum of gestures and words and habits that you use in particular moments and ritualize it. It's very important to ritualize our life, not necessarily with the religions, but to give importance to every choice of your life, to everything of your life, to the nature, to the people. All is sacred and all is power. And you, as a magician or as a wizard or as a witch, you have to understand that you are a little bit of power in a great power of the universe, and you have to respect all people, all powers, even the dark power, because all is necessary in the life and in the universe, the dark and luminous. And even inside us, there is a part luminous and a side dark. And you have to harmonize these parts and use the power you have with the respect of person and the nature and the world in which we are living. This is magic.
I have a lot of questions.
From my humble point of view, of course.
Oh. No, I have been interviewing more than 200 people, from Umbanda priests to Catholic exorcists to Satanists, and I have asked this question to all of them, and I got like 200 different answers. So that's the beauty of it, the magic and the tarot. I have another question here is, what's your favorite deck and why? Because you have seen probably all the decks that there are. Do you have a favorite one?
You can make this question to me, because I like tarot, all tarot decks. I'm involved in the history of tarot, and I like to know what the people do with tarot, what the artists create on tarot, and I like to see. I consider me like a falcon that see the world from the eye and see what happens. And I write in my memory all I see, and I remember what people do, and I consider all people makes very important for the history of art. And I like to go like a falcon on the history, and see other people that now they are died, but they let something in the history, and with other people, of course, with thoughts, with making new tarots or books, and all is interesting and contributes to create the great mosaic of the tarot history. And me, you, Elisa, Ed, Jose, Alex, we all are a little part of this great mosaic. And this is fantastic, because we all are related in this history. And with the respect to each other, with the different point of view, with the different way to use tarot, we are part of a great community. And I think this is important because the tarot community in the world is very fragmented. But there is a ideal that the tarot is a guide, is a good guide for all of us.
You told us about the history of tarot, but in the magic community, there are still people who believes that the tarot is from Atlantida or from the Egypt or from anything. Could you tell us a little bit about the real story of tarot? When was it the first time it was printed? How did it surge?
Okay, every century born a new legend on tarot, because it seems that it is necessary to create a myth around an object. And this myth seems to augment the power of the object. Not only the tarot, other objects, other magical objects. The legends around tarot are many, but of course they are legends. And I like to read the new legends and the ancient legends because they are necessary to consider the tarot as a body living that increase year after year and augment its power. But from the historical point of view, of course, you can. We don't have the proof that tarot born in Atlantide or in Egypt or the Cathars or the Rosicrucian or the alchemists in Middle Age or the Kabbalistic priestess. It's interesting to see all these legends because from these legends born new ways to use tarot, and this is the very interesting game of tarot. And another use of tarot, probably in Brazil people don't know, or maybe yes, I don't know, is the tarot is a tool to create novels. It's a tool used by psychoanalysts to help their patients. I have a good friend in Verona that collaborated with a psychiatric hospital and use the tarot with the psychic people, no? And they design some cards of the tarot, and then the psychoanalyst analyze these drawings and speak with the patient to extract some problems and elaborate the cure for the people. It's very interesting. I have some books with the drawings designed by psychiatric patients.
Here in Brazil, our Council of Psychology does not allow psychologists to use either astrology or tarot or anything like that. So they like it, but they can't officially use it. But they are fascinated from it. I have a question from Breno. He said, people here in Brazil doesn't know anything about the Solabusca tarot, but it's a very important one. So he would like to ask you if you could explain what are the difference between the Solabusca and the traditional, and why is the Solabusca is so important?
The Solabusca Tarot is a very interesting deck for its origins. We know it was created around 1491 in Ferrara or maybe in Venezia, and it's very strange because all images are very different from traditional tarot. But at that epoch, there was many tarot difference each other. And we know that the Solabusca Tarot is the first deck completely designed with characters in every card, in each of 78 cards. And it is the first alchemical tarot of the history, and is the tarot that's influenced Arthur Rider White and Pamela Colman Smith to create the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. It's a deck not very known today, because the only one copy complete of the 78 cards is owned by a family in Milan and remained for many centuries in the house of that family. Then they sent some pictures, some photographs to the British Museum to create an exhibit in 1988, and was in that occasion that White and Pamela Colman Smith see for the first time the Solabusca Tarot, and take the inspiration for some cards of their deck. Then the deck stay in the house of that family, and in 20 years ago, I suppose, 14 years ago, the Italian state bought this deck for the little sum of 18 million euros. I don't know, are $80,000 probably. And for that moment started the interest of the historians to this deck. I started to study the Solabusca Tarot in 1987 when I organized the great exhibition in Ferrara, and in that occasion I asked some cards at the Museum of Albertina in Vienna. But they had just 20 cards not painted. Instead, the family in Milan have all the cards painted, all the 78. Then in 1994, I started to study the Solabusca Tarot with a great master of alchemy, an old woman. Unfortunately, she died some years ago. It was Sofia Di Vincenzo, and with her I wrote this book about the Solabusca Tarot. And from that moment, the deck come in front of me in every moment, and it's thanks to the Solabusca Tarot that I started to the project Renascimento, because I had the fortune, I was lucky to have a deck reprinted faithfully by a German printer, Wolfgang Mayer, and I take all the decks remained in the Mayer family, and I started to sell these decks to my friends around the world, and so I decided to start Renascimento and to start the reproduction of all decks. So I'm sure that the Solarbuska Tarot is a great talisman, and I understand that there is a great power in these cards, a power of transformation. You can understand in this card the power, the alchemic power, as transformate yourself to path yourself in a good way to reach your goals, to transform your position in the world, and use yourself as an alchemic athanor. All we are an athanor, and inside us there are in every moment transformation. Well, so the Solarbuska Tarot teach you how to use his power to transformate yourself. And for this, I started to create a video course on Solarbuska Tarot.
Wow. Then I will ask you for the links in the end of the interview. But you said about the Renascimento project. But before that, what's the connection between alchemy and tarot that you mentioned? Do you think that the normal tarot, it's not normal tarot, but the traditional tarot, is there a connection? No?
What is the traditional tarot? Yeah,
that's a question that we have asked a lot, because there seems to be some you have to have 70, 80 cards and everything. Is it for real? There is a traditional tarot or not?
But if you ask, if you speak with French people, they say that traditional tarot is the tarot of Marseille. But we know that the tarot of Marseille is derivated from Italian tarots of the Renaissance. And then even the tarot of Marseille changed its images. No? So we can tell that don't exist a traditional tarot. Exist a lot of different tarots. But it's very interesting about the relationships between Tarot of Marseille, old or the ancient Milanese tarot, that in the ancient Milanese tarot exist already some images related to Hermetic thoughts. We know that from the half of the 15th century, there was, starting from Italy, a great explosion of Hermeticism, and involved a lot of people, even priests like Marsilio Ficino at the court of Medici in Florence. And probably even Tarot was influenced by the Hermetic thoughts. And then this, the Hermeticists involved other printers. But we know that back to the printers, there are a mind that guide the printer. Is very rare in the Middle Ages, in Renaissance times, that the printers have the knowledge to create a deck important like the Solarbuska Tarot or the other tarot decks inspired to Hermeticism, like, for example, the Tarot of Mantegna. Then we hate to think that don't exist traditional tarot deck, but exist different decks, and some of them have alchemical contents. This is important to take present in our mind. And some of them could be used to alchemical transformation inside us. And I know that Robert Place in USA has created a very interesting alchemy tarot. I like a lot, both for design, both for contest. And Robert is a very good person and very sincere, and I like a lot his work on tarot, and in particular on alchemy tarot.
We interviewed him. He's a great guy, and he explained us all the process. Not only that, he got in contact with the alchemy and tarot and everything, and then he gave us a great interview. But how about the Renascimento project now? What is it? When did it started? How is it going?
Renascimento is a great project, but I have not all the time I wanted to create all I would like. I have almost 20 new decks in my mind. One in particular is very interesting because it will be a reprint of a deck printed in Bologna by one ancestor of mine, Francesco Berti. Was a printer in Bologna at the end of 18th century. And an English collector gave me the opportunity to reprint this deck. And probably I will reprint it at the early of the next year. And in the same time, I'm preparing other projects, magical tales, and in this winter I will start to teach symbolism at the Academy of Noetic Sciences in Turin. And in this period, I'm involved in the organization of the Festival of Magic in Gorzegno. Well, I'm involved in a lot of projects, and probably I will not alive to all this work.
What is this magic that said?
This Festival of Magic.
Magic Festival of Magic. What is that?
It's a great project of exhibition. I organize and I am organizing an exhibition on the witches in the Macbeth of Shakespeare, and then I had committed a series of images of the Voynich manuscript that some realized in sculpture and to part in the walls of this little town. And during the Festival of Magic will be also theater performances such as the Infernus, inspired by the Dante Divine Comedy. There will be large video mappings on the walls of the castle and on some palaces. And there will be illusionists, comic magicians, and fortune tellers, and holistic operators with stone crystals and yoga, tai chi, reiki, a shamanic people that will do experience with the people. It's a very great festival at the early September, 4 and 5 of September.
I would like you to talk a little bit about how's the process of restoration an ancient deck, because people who are listening, they don't have the idea. I'm an architect. I know how difficult it is to recreate this ancient tarot. So could you tell us a little bit about how the process works? We have to get the images, and how does it make it real?
I can tell you about my process. Well, the first is to have an original deck in your hands. And of course, you have to know a collector that give you that deck. Then you scan all images. You have to calibrate the colors that remain faithful to the original. And this is the first part. Then you have to, this is my process, of course. I analyze the paper of the deck, and I search a paper similar to the ancient paper. And then I go to my printer and I ask to print the cards in a way absolutely faithful to the original cards, for colors, for size, for paper. And this is my way to reproduce this. I don't like to use plastic, for example. I hate plastic. I don't like it absolutely. So my cards are without plastic. This is for example, the version of the Solabusca. Okay, and I want to show how it is beautiful. Okay, this is gold. And each deck have a warranty, and I put the number of the deck and my signature. So each deck is absolutely unique. And then I write personally a note to each person that asks me a deck. I take this paper, and to each one I write personally a note. And people is grateful to me because they like my way to write, because I like a good calligraphy, and I try to create a connection between me and the people that will receive the deck. And I put myself in a mental connection with the people, and I try to extract from my mind some kind words that could be useful to the people.
This is true magic.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have a question from Jonah. He said, and if there is an arcane that's missing, or if it's damaged, how do you restore it? It's an artist that, for example, if there is no devil or no tower, you get a collection, you want to reprint, but there is an arcane missing. What do you do?
And when I have a deck with missing cards, I have very great problems, because my goal is to give people deck absolutely faithful to the original one. So if some cards are missing, I would have to replace them with new images. But I don't like to do this. Sometimes when I work with Los Scarabeo, I conceived some decks restoring some cards missing. or adding some cards. For example, the Este Tarot is in a little part inspired by the ancient Pharaoh's Tarot, but the most part of the cards are reinvented. And in that case, I took the images, the astrological images in the Schifanoia Palace of Ferrara, and I transferred them in the deck. As you know, the Pharaoh's Tarot have only 17 cards, so all the other cards are invented. And but I wanted to give a link between the real ancient cards and that epoch. So we asked to Bulgarian artist, a Greek Bulgarian artist, Atanasov, to redraw all the cards, the original cards, and add, with the same style, of course, the images that I choose from the frescoes in the Schifanoia Palace. And in that way, born a new deck, very interesting from esoterical point of view, because the frescoes in Schifanoia are astrological images with the decans, with the god and goddess from. Wow, Elisa, fantastic! That. What is his name? The name of the cat.
The name of her.
Don't understand.
Maria. I'm
Maria.
sorry.
Maria.
Maria.
Fantastic. Okay.
She likes tarot.
Well, my cats are around the house, but in this moment I don't know where they are. However, this is my way to work with tarots, with restoring the tarots.
Elisa has asked you a question that is there in the history of tarot any indication that it has been used in a pedagogical way to teach something in the ancient times, or it was always understood as a game?
No, we know that tarot cards in ancient times were used in a very different way, not only from card players. We know that young women used the tarot with poetic games. For example, we are playing with the tarot, huh? And a woman mix the cards and give one card to his player, and then ask to a girl, give this card to the person you want, and create a little poem in the same instant to that person related to that card. This was a game very known in at the end of 15th and early 17th century. There is a literature about this game, and from this practice born a lot of poems on tarots, poems by Aretino on cardinals in conclave for the election of a new pope, and the 22 cardinals were the major arcana of the tarot, for example. And a priest invented short think thoughts about 22 priests of the city in Bologna. Even in Pavia, one poet created 22 poems on 22 great dames of the city of Pavia, and the same another poet on the woman of Ferrara or of Venezia. And tarot and poems is strictly related, and we know that the poesis is an ancient, very ancient, made magic and way of divination. We remember, for example, the Druids that used the poems to as spells against the other peoples, no? And so we have to remember, using the tarot, that it is a great power of poetry inside them.
This one that you are talking about, they're not the first decks, because
Marcelo, about poems. I wrote a poem on the Fool, and you can see it. Unfortunately, it's only in Italian language, but probably with the YouTube you can translate approximately the sense of this song. And the song is Canzone del Tarocco Matto. I will give you the link to YouTube. It's very, very nice, because it's the history of this fool in the life, a strange history of love, and you will like a lot.
Great. This first decks that you were talking, they were very expensive, wasn't they? They were painted in gold and things like that. This one that you're talking is a later deck that were printed in paper and in presses.
Yes. In fact,
the first ones were like work of arts, weren't them? The first decks, from the 15th century.
Solarbuska Tarot, of course, is the most expensive and the most precious, because all details, because the kind of papers, because golden on the cards, because the box, you can see. I like to create jewels. And when I worked with Lo Scarabeo, I proposed them to create only gems, only jewels, and they told to me, but few people can buy jewels. And I said, of course, but the people that have money can buy diamonds, gold, or other objects of art that cost a lot of money. Well, they follow the mass market, and I follow a little market of people that like the precious objects. For example, I started to reprint the Solarbuska Tarot in 10 years ago, and the price was very, very cheap. No, the same decks now cost a lot. Cost almost $300 US dollars. So people that bought this deck are very happy, because from that point of view is an investment. But of course, I don't conceive the tarot as an investment. It's an investment in knowledge, in personal power, in a lot of topics that the Greek industry don't consider. Is not interested to print only 300 or 500 texts. I like instead to produce very few decks, but with great quality from all point of view, esoterical, from the images. I want to show this deck. Well, I asked the British Museum to give me permission to produce this deck.
All right.
Okay. This deck was printed in Salzburg at the end of the 18th century, and exists only one copy of the cards at the British Museum. So this is an authentic gem. This is the deck with Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart playing tarot. Mozart was known even a great tarot player. In his diary, you can read some thoughts about tarot. Actually, the diary was that one of his sister. However, the writings is that of Wolfgang. And so in the tarot, there is great history of Greek person, Greek characters. And but I like to search about little histories, the history of simple person, like a little printer here in Asti lived a little printer that produced a fantastic tarot in Marseille style, and together with a French genealogist, we have reconstructed the life of this person, Giuseppe Lando, and we know that he was a simple worker, and then after the invasion of the Napoleonic army, he had to start with the war. And when he come back in Turin, he started to print tarots. And he unfortunately died 2 years later, and his wife, is the widow, started to print that tarots. And so it's interesting to know even the personal story of the printers, of the inventors of the tarot, of the people that write or wrote about tarot. It's a universe, a great universe, not only of esoteric people, but even simple people. And we can understand the importance of this deck, even reading this history. For example, in one of the last deck I reprinted. Well, this one, I wrote the history of the Milanese tarot, and it's interesting to know that in Milan people play tarot even in the La Scala theater during the exhibition of the orchestra, and people, some women reading cards on the corners of the streets, poets that writing about tarot. So it's tarot is a universe that includes all aspects of our life. present and past.
It is fascinating, and your work is like a jewelry, yeah, an artisan. That's why we love your work. I have another question that people begged me to ask you, because here in the magic world, we love the Aleister Crowley tarot, and they wanted to know what are your thoughts on his work, the trouble that he had, he and Frida Harris went to put all the images and the hermetic stuff and yoga and everything. And so what do you think about the Aleister Crowley tarot?
Well, I had in my hands the original drawings of Lady Frida Harris in 1997, when I realized the great exhibition in Ferrara. And the images are the originals are at the Warburg Institute in Londra, and they give the permission to expose the original in Ferrara. And I had the opportunity to have in my hands that images, and you have to show that they have a great power.
What are the size of the original paintings?
My skin is is incredible. It's incredible. I like a lot of that deck because Aleister was a great magician, a great performer, even, but even a great magician, and a great master. And I think the importance of Aleister was that of take out the tarot from a paternalistic vision of the world, of the magic, and give the opportunity to create not properly a maternalistic vision, but an harmonic vision of the tarot, where male and female are in complete harmony, each one. I think this word can explain my thought about Aleister Crowley. I want to show another deck I created recently in the past year. Is the Pansophic Tower.
Sure.
Give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Because I have a lot of objects.
Don't worry. No worries. Giordano, people were asking, what are the size of the original paintings? They big?
They are big. They are big like this one.
Oh. About
very big, very big. I can. This is the catalog of that exhibition. Maybe I can give you the exact measures side. No, it's not written the size of the originals. Sorry, but they are very good, like this one.
All right.
20 for 25, almost 28. Very great.
Right.
And as you know, there Aleister asked to Lady Frida Harris to repeat some images, and we have, for example, 4 versions of the magician, 3 versions of the fool, other version of the priestess, the princess, the kings. There are, I don't remember exactly how many drawings made by Lady Frida Harris, but I think, almost 100 images.
Wow.
Drawing in sketches, and of course 78 perfect images.
Perfect images.
Yeah.
You got another tarot
Alistair was a maniac, even even for the art.
You got another tarot that you wanted to show us.
Okay, see, I forgot. Well, this is the Pansophic Tarot, and this is an evolution of this is the booklet in English and in Italian. A golden bag. Well, this is an evolution of the tarot of Alistair Crowley, with the authors under my direction changed the names. For example, the number one is magic. All the names are in Latin. The Greek pistis is the Sapienza. Amor, not Roma. Okay. Is full of hermetic symbols. Someone taken from alchemical books of the Renaissance. Is a mix. And the name Pansophic means the knowledge of all. Pan, Sophie. Do you like?
It is fascinating. This is beautiful beyond belief.
Yes, and the back is the hieroglyphic monad of John Dee.
Oh,
It's fantastic, and is an evolution of the Crowleyan Thelemic philosophy, and go over the traditional concept and put together many new thoughts of our era. I think this deck will continue for one century to be studied, because it's very full of many symbols taken from various traditions.
Yes, I believe this is the kind of deck that in 200, 300 years, the historical people were trying to be recreating and reprinted.
Yeah. If you come in my house, you can see all my collection, not only of modern decks, but even ancient decks. I like a lot the old Sibyls, the Lenormand, Livre du Destin, and all decks. This is a little part of my collection. Is a bit ruined, but very interesting. Excuse me. This is an ancient Lenormand.
Yes.
This is
the Lenormand here in Brazil is known as the Gypsy Tarot.
Livre du Destin. I will reprint very soon this one, and but I had a lot of decks. Oh. This is a little part of my collection. See, this one. This was printed in USA in early 19th century, 20th century, sorry. And this is French.
You're going to reprint all of them?
No, this one, no.
No.
It's not very important. I cannot reprint all my decks because I have no money.
You must make a crowdfunding. I believe they will be reprinted in no time.
Unfortunately, I have a lot of projects and my money, I have one head, two hands, two legs. This one is very nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes, and even this one. Yeah, I have a little museum, and I have a museum of witchcraft even. I have a lot of old prints, ancient prints on witchcraft in Europe, and objects of traditional witchcraft. Because a lot of people ask me, I have this object, but I think it could be dangerous. There's no problem. give it to me. and so I have a great collection of very strange objects. Magical wands, puppets, and a lot of that, and even old books of witchcraft. Yes, and diaries of popular magic. Yeah, a lot. I don't know when I will die. I don't know where I can put. This is a part of my library.
Oh my God.
This is me.
Well, it has been a pleasure. I cannot even start to say how grateful we are for this interview. Elisa asked if...
My magical wand.
Whoa. Oh my God.
Well,
Elisa asked you, what tarots do you indicate to the people who are beginning now? We have a lot of people who watch this show that they are just beginning in tarot. And what do you recommend people start with?
I recommend to all people to start absolutely free, without prevention, without prejudice, in every direction. I know, for example, people that hearts tarot because they said, but Catholic Church is against tarot. And I hate to say it's not true, because from the beginning, all people that used tarot was priests. And the first witness of the esoteric tarot came from priests. And people say that, but is not. I don't think the divination is true. Okay, you have not to use the tarot for divination. You can use the tarot as a artistic tool or a psychological tool. You can use tarot in every mode you want. The most important is when you choose a way, you understand all of that way, and that you can explore the other way. It's like to follow a street, no? You are walking, you see some shops, and you can understand what that shops are selling, and you are not obligated to buy the object of the shops. You have a direction. Then you are free to come back to follow the other street. All our choice to be free, even and always in respect of other position, of the thing of other people. No one of us had the absolutely true. Some of us know a little bit more than others, but we had to apprehend from a lot of people, even from the most simple people. We have every day to apprehend something.
And we are always getting to the end. I have one last question, that is, how can we find you in the internet? And how can we buy your decks and the links and everything? All that you say we will put in the description of the video.
You can go to Facebook on giordanoberti.com, and there is the shop inside, and from there you can go to Etsy. It's simple, very simple. Or you can go directly to Etsy and go to Renascimento Italian art. But I think the best is go to Facebook, if you are on Facebook, of course, and go to my personal page, giordanoberti.com, and so you can see even the news, but not only news, because in the past time I published a lot of papers, a lot for a magazine, and sometimes I put on my page all the old text. For example, I want to show this one. Well, many years ago, I created this little encyclopedia. Is playing cards and divination cards, and you see that there are all these articles written by me. But people ask me, but I cannot see your, I cannot find your encyclopedia. So sometime when I have time, when I have a bit of time, I take some pages of the encyclopedia and I put it on Facebook, so people can read free these articles. This is dedicated to the Chinese cards and to the Indian cards, the cards from Mamluks, the cards, the first tarot cards. Okay, I like to give people my knowledge, my leader's knowledge, and sometimes there are students that write me. This was in Spanish. But you read inverted. You see. Okay. This is the interesting, because there is the history of some peoples, like Aleister Crowley, but not only, even people of theater like Antonin Artaud, that used the tarot in Mexico. After take psychedelics. I don't know the exact term of the psychedelic substance. However, a lot of people, artists, writers, use the tarot in different ways, and I think it's interesting for the people to know how they use the tarot or what they have wrote about tarot.
I'm speechless. Thank you so much for this interview. I will get your address later. I want to send you, we have some tarots that were designed by Brazilians. We couldn't draw, but it is based on the Kabbalah and things like that. I want to send you some for our collection, so you will have some Brazilian decks with you. And thank you so much for your time.
I hope to come in Brazil very soon, because when I come in São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, I was very, very, very happy with people. I think Brazilians are fantastic people. I was very, very, very happy. And not only speaking about art, but in general, stay with people in their houses. Was a fantastic experience. I hope to repeat very soon.
It's great. You have a lot of friends here now, a lot of new friends that will know your work. And
I'm very happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your...
Just say goodbye and we'll turn on the cameras and talk a little bit more. Para vocês que acompanharam a gente até agora, segue o canal, dá like e a gente se vê aí no próximo bate-papo Mayhem.